You want Dak, you want Jared Goff?
I mean, I got to keep it real. I got to go with Dak simply because when the structure breaks down, Dak has an element of his game that Jared Goff doesn't have. And he's starting to implement it a lot more when you talk about him using his legs. And I think that's going to be key and vital when the play breaks down. You see it with Lamar Jackson as well, buying time to throw, but also being able to pick up those pivotal first downs. If Dak decides to be the runner that he's been in the last couple of weeks, then it's certain coverages that you just can't play against him. You can't have a four-man rush and playing man-to-man coverage and turn your back against an athletic quarterback because they'll be able to pick it up. So I got to go with Dak Prescott right now. And championship medal was made out of pain. And nobody's had more pain and disappointment than the Dallas Cowboys. And right now you talk about a young group in the Lions going out there. They don't know what they don't know, and they'll find out what playoff football is all about. A lot different from regular season.
That's very big of you not choosing with your heart.
It's funny you said they don't know what they don't know. Jared Goff knows how to get to a Super Bowl.
That's one person.
That's all right, but that's okay. But the topic is talking about the quarterback position. I'm going with a guy who's been there. Yes, they lost to the New England Patriots. Lost to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, but this is a guy. I don't know why you're looking at me sideways there.
Didn't they get him traded?
That's okay. Did he get him traded? Did he get to the Super Bowl?
He did.
Okay.
Did he get Did he win it?
Has Dak sniffed the Super Bowl?
Stop with your heart.
Has Dak sniffed the Super Bowl? No. And listen, I want to say this. Yes, Bart, you have a point about how Dak Prescott has been using his legs, to the betterment, and that's really helped him as far as how he's been playing this year. One thing I'll say about Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff is in a perfect place. He's in a perfect spot in Detroit. Cast off, former number one pick, cast off, basically thrown in the trade.
Chip on the shoulder.
He got thrown in the trade. That's exactly where I'm going. Guy who clearly has a chip on his shoulder. The way this offensive system is built around Jared Goff is perfect because they want to, first and foremost, bludgeon you and do what Jared Goff does best, as good as any quarterback in the National Football League, throwing on play action. Okay, to me, that's where Jared Goff thrives at. And you know what? You know what? Why you looking at me all sideways and everything? We're gonna have a first-hand look at this whole debate come this weekend.
Yes.
This weekend, Dak Prescott against Jared Goff.
Yes.
So, we'll revisit this whole thing, this whole discussion after this weekend.
Well, I think since we're in New York, Jay-Z once said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So, Jared Goff, last 4 weeks, you look at what he's done. 11 TDs, 6 turnovers. Dak Prescott, MVP the last 8-9 weeks of the season. Dak Prescott has thrown the third most TDs in the red zone of any quarterback. That's 22 of them. First QB to throw for 30 touchdowns this season. Dak Prescott keeps playing and getting better and better and better every week. Go ahead.
You as publicist?
Well, in case you did not know, y'all.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This man is a Cowboys fan. Now, he is right, though. Brian is right. The answer is Dak. From just strictly player and the skill set, I think why we've seen the Cowboys offense sort of have this turnaround since the season started is because Dak's legs. I wish he would use those more. I wish that it's that. I feel like that element of his game is what makes him special. Now, to your point about Jared Goff, I spoke to Taylor Decker this year when they played, I think heading into the Ravens game, which they did get bludgeoned in, but heading into that game, he talked about how Jared Goff literally sent to Detroit. Taylor Decker, a lifer in Detroit, sent there as a cast-off. Sent there, his career was over. People wanted to malign him. And what we're seeing now is Jared Goff having this career resurrection, which is wonderful to see. I think this season, to your point about Dak, MVP type of season, the numbers that he's putting up until a few weeks ago, Dak was the clear favorite as far as the MVP for a lot of people, right?
Homecoming game.
But again, still, with both of these quarterbacks, there's a lot more to see, a lot more questions to be answered on both sides because the turnovers with Goff this year has been an issue. And also Dak not being able, and this team not being able to beat good teams on the road, Brian, is an issue. So we gon' see.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I think with Detroit, I think they have the second most rushing yards than anybody. That's the reason why, one of the main reasons why Jared Goff has been so good. Only behind Baltimore, I think, is Detroit because Gibbs and Montgomery have been outstanding. Is this a must-win, you think, for the Cowboys? Considering, look, they haven't lost at home, but now all of a sudden they get another playoff team coming in there, and they haven't fared well against teams that have
Oh, my
winning records.
1,000.
Well, I don't think it's a must-win because even if they do win, what does it prove to us, right? Our question marks about Dallas is the fact that they can't win on the road against, say, an opponent that has a quarterback that can defend itself on the other side. Really, why, if you want to make a case for why it's a must-win, is because that number 1 seed is still available. Because I believe San Francisco lose to the Rams, because they always play them well in Week 18. But getting back to like the quarterback debate and who you will take, oddly enough, a playoff, your playoff record is a quarterback stat, but it's a team result. Right, so like when you think about it, it's not the fact that Dak hasn't been holding up his end of the bargain on the offensive side of the ball. It's that this defense suddenly can't stop the run. So no matter what, you talk about on the other side, though, you talk about the Detroit Lions. They don't have a guy outside of Aiden Hutchinson. They can't get big stops. They can't rush the passer. So it could be a short-lived, type of result for them in the playoffs as well. We know what playoff football is all about. Packing your run game and your defense. The Lions have the most suspect defense out of all the teams that's going to be in the tournament.
The interesting thing, though, the Cowboys have been having issues on that left tackle spot, though, with Tyron Smith and those guys being out. So that's been a big problem for them. But you go to the Lions, that's what they do best is run the football. And if you're Dallas, you got to show that you can stop a team that can bludgeon you running the football.
You talking about
language.
You're talking about language there. But listen, I feel like we've seen Dak put up stats. We've seen Dak Prescott put up stats plenty of times before. At the end of the day, listen, you at home against a good team in the Detroit Lions, we know you Jekyll and Hyde. If you don't go out here and beat Detroit at home, now the narrative is going to be, okay, going to the postseason, this Dallas Cowboys team ain't doing anything because now the one thing we've talked about how they play good at home, if that get destroyed psychologically for Dallas, you in a bad spot.
What's the ceiling, you think, for Josh Allen, or has he even reached it?
No, listen. I think Josh Allen's I think he has a Hall of Fame trajectory. I think he has that type of skill set. I mean, listen, we and just let me go back to what Bill was talking about. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Obviously, we talked about the trade for Stephon Diggs, kind of propelled Josh Allen to a whole different level. That's what you're supposed to do with a lot of young quarterbacks. But it's just when you see that type of skill set come into the league with Josh Allen, the size, the arm, the athletic ability, and I think most importantly, man, just the way the organization developed him. And Bill is right. Once you get to that level, you usually can sustain that, bar an injury. You usually can sustain that for a long period of time. And Josh Allen is one of the rare dual threat quarterbacks that we have in our game. I know we talk about turnovers. Trust me, I've been one of the guys that talked about the turnovers with Josh Allen. But I will also say, as it relates to turnovers, I wouldn't change a thing because you're essentially taking away who he is as a player. He's like a Ferrari. He's like that wild horse. That's the type of guy that you want out there playing the game of football. So I do think when it's all said and done, Josh Allen is going to be he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
What's the face, Bart?
Let me get to the mad rapper. Why are you always mad, son?
Oh, no, because I was listening. I was, it's one thing to hear, it's another thing to listen. So I was trying to internalize what he was saying. And when I see him, I don't see Tom Brady. I see, Brett Favre because he's reckless with the ball. And I think, he still has a little bit of evolving to do because, in this league, windows open and they close. And we're seeing the closing of this window. They have to try and get it done this year in a weaker division. He can go out and be a guy like Phillip Rivers when you think about a guy that put up gaudy numbers for a long time but never won anything. Because understand the environment in which Josh Allen finds himself in. He's in Buffalo. And this is not a place where free agents are beating down the door. So, I understand.
Free agents go to play with guys like that.
I understand that, but for how long when you have other options? If you look at what Lamar Jackson is doing this year, right? Lamar Jackson was reckless with his body because he would go out and he put himself in harm's way. Like, I get nervous sometimes when I see Josh Allen. I'm also watching Cam Newton. It was a supernova. It was beautiful. It was magnificent to watch, but it ended short. And Sean McDermott had a front row seat to that because he still, you can't let a guy be himself. You notice Lamar Jackson, he scrambles to throw now. And he only runs to be special when he has to be. Josh Allen has to understand that he has the team's, future in his hands, and his health is vital. Right, I just worry about him taking these big hits when he goes Josh Allen mode and starts to say, "I'm gonna be the best athlete out here and running guys over."
But I will say this though: if you watch since they fired their OC and Joe Brady, the way they play offense is different.
But they're running the ball.
Right. They're using James Cook.
They're realizing
James Cook is actually a pretty good running back.
But when things go bad, guys like that always revert to who they are. And by nature, he's a risk taker.
But he's also a supernova at quarterback.
Yes, and supernovas are beautiful, but they don't last long. Just ask Cam Newton, MVP of the league.
Be the voice of reason.
No, the ceiling for Josh Allen is 100% a Super Bowl MVP, and Hall of Fame. That's the ceiling. He is that talented of a guy.
What's the reality?
What will stop him is roster construction. Because Bills Mafia got mad at me early in the season because I said Josh tends to turn the ball over, and this window is closing. With this current team as it's currently constructed, that does not mean that the window is closed on Josh Allen's career. But these Bills, who are good enough to win now, that window is closing because you see a lot of guys on defense, they're getting older, they're not going to keep them. However, to think that Josh Allen can't accomplish these things is just crazy. It really will be, can they continue to build around him knowing that you're going to have to pay him? That's it.
You know what I go back to? When the question was asked to Joe Burrow, what's your window? As long as I'm playing, the window is open. And it's the same thing with Josh Allen. As long as Josh Allen is on the field, their Buffalo Bills window is open.
It's a question of ceiling. What is he capable of doing?
Being a Hall of Famer.
Right. That's it.
That's what we're saying. That's all we're saying.
We're not predicting that in his career he's going to win 5. I don't know. I'm not Miss Cleo. I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying, because look at what he has to face. So if you're giving one to Josh Allen, who are you taking one from? Taking one from Lamar? Taking one from Joe? Taking one from Patrick Mahomes?
I'm just saying they're all like it goes back. It's almost like the conversation of, game manager versus, game changer.
Please don't start that again.
No,
don't start that again.
No, but Josh Allen is one of probably like 4 quarterbacks in this league that are legit game-changing type players, guys that can literally lift an organization on their back.
But the window is closing because Gabe Davis
on this version of the Bills.
And you don't just rebuild that window in 1 or 2 years.
Oh, right? You can.
They're going to use Poyer, Von Miller.
You can. When you have the quarterback position figured out, it makes it a whole lot easier to build around that.
The 49ers are a great example of a team that's able to, year after year.
That's because they got a cheap quarterback.
Jimmy
G was cheap. He wasn't high over the market. This guy set the bar. So when you do that, you have to start, listen, when they pay you that money, me and Woody both experienced this, you got to start saying, okay, what teammates you want to cut? When you got that big contract,
you don't think there were iterations of the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton Manning was there? You go through that. Like you have, but when you have the quarterback position solved, that's the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Yes, but you also have to hit on the other positions.
It goes back to what Kimberley said, the organization. You got to be able to draft.
Real estate is location.
And you talked
I'm not trying to be snowed in 3 months out the year.
I hear about that.
Playing with Josh Allen.
Not when I can go play with Lamar Jackson. Or I can go play with Tua Tagovailoa and no state taxes. There's a lot of places I'd rather go before you get to that Buffalo list.
Von Miller went to go play with Josh Allen in Buffalo.
There you go. By the way, you talked about Cam Newton. How about this? 4th straight season that he's had 40 combined passing, rushing TDs. He is 3 TDs away from joining Cam Newton, the only player in NFL history to throw for 30 TDs, rush for 10 TDs. He did that in 2015. He was MVP.
Can he dominate when his body fails him? That's the difference. When your body fails, you can't do it with your mind.
It hadn't happened yet.
It's on deck, Claude. It happens to us all.
More to come.